seems like it's a good thing to do. Oop. Share screen, share. Okay. So like I mentioned, I actually picked up a new trick. So last class, we talked about how to import something in from Illustrator and how to get those vector images to blend back and forth. And just out of curiosity, I was doing some research on, is there a way to blend between bitmaps in After Effects? And in fact, there was a pretty cool tutorial. And so I've got this little example set up where this little scooter guy, and the scooter guy turns into a car, and then the car turns back into a scooter. And this is actually just two layers in a Photoshop file, but it could be two PNG images. It could be anything basically that has an alpha channel. So that's the secret to this, is if you are working with a bitmapped image, you want to make sure that when you bring it in, so here, and actually I'll just bring it up in Photoshop. So you can see this is one character, and it's on a it's on a transparent background, and then you have this other object that's also on a transparent background. So when I save it, these images they're not basically like this, where you have you know, they're not merged onto a single white plane, right? So this car is just by itself. So when you import into After Effects, the thing that you want to do is, I'll go ahead and make a new composition so that you can see it from scratch. Okay, so I have my empty compositions, nothing in there. If I come in to here and I import in the Photoshop file, the options are fairly important for this workflow. So I've got this morph demo PSD. So this contains my two layers in it. And when I import it, I want to make sure that in the past, I've said that you want to retain layer size, but for this specific workflow, you actually want to just keep it at composition size. And I'll go into why that is in a second. So leave that as composition, and layer options, go ahead and keep it as edit layer style, or editable layer styles. So when you click that, you can see that I've actually done it a couple times, but what it's going to do is bring in these two layers. And you can see down here in the little preview how here's one way of importing it where I actually didn't do composition. I said go to the layer size. So you can see that this layer is cropped right to just the little scooter guy, while in this version, it's the entire size of the comp. The reason this is important is because when you do kind of distortions and things like that on these layers, you need the room to be able to distort past kind of the boundaries of your image. So what that means is here with this car, if I were to drop some kind of effect like maybe wave, I believe is what it's called. Yeah, wave warp. So if I drop a wave warp on here, see how it started clipping at the top? Because that's where that image ends. So if I dial it up, you can see it even more. So there's my wave height. There we go. So as you see how it looks like it's basically clipping, like it's the little alpha mask. That's because the way that it's been imported in, it's only, the image is tight to that boundary. Whereas if I had left it so that there was a little room at the top and the bottom, you can see here in the preview how I have this blank space above and this blank space below. If I were to come in and put that same effect on this one, you can see that it has the room to actually complete the effect. So that's why when you're importing in, make sure that your composition actually has some room, some empty blank space around it, so that you have the freedom to do some of these distortion effects. Okay, so it's a little bit of technical talk. So now we'll just get into the fun stuff. So say you have imported things incorrectly, you can just click and drag your layers onto the stage. And I will want to try and transition from this scooter guy and turn the scooter guy into this car. And the secret sauce with this is using something called auto trace and a layer effect called reshape, or sorry, an effect or preset called reshape. So I'll start by focusing on the scooter guy, because that's going to be the first part of my animation. And the first thing that you do is, with it selected, you go up to layer, go to auto trace, and then here with these options, make sure that work area is selected, and make sure that apply to new layer is also selected. So that when you click that, what it does is it traces around everything in your object with a path. And you can see that there's actually two paths here, because the inside of the scooter is its own path, and I don't need that one. All I want for this trick is the outside path. So you can delete any path that isn't just the outside path. So here you can delete it. And then really what you want to do is select the outline that you want. And the outlines always are converted into masks. So with this new layer, you would want to open up the masks section and copy the correct mask by selecting it and hitting either Control C on Windows or Command C on a Mac. And now that you have that, you can come down to your original image and just hit Control V, and it'll paste that mask directly onto the layer. So you can see that that follows perfectly with the illustration. Then I like to rename things, because in a couple steps, you're going to need to know which mask is which mask. The quick and easy hotkey for renaming stuff is just hit enter, and it will allow you to start typing in text. So I've selected my mask, hit enter, and I'll call this scooter mask. And then I can get rid of that new layer. And I'll repeat that process for the car. So select the layer, go up to layer in your drop downs, select auto trace. It should save the options that you just set up. So you should just be able to hit OK. And it does some tracing, some calculating. And here you can see, got my mask ready to go. So with this one, there was no kind of internal extra stuff. So there's only one mask. So I'll select it, hit Control C, copy, fly in here. Select my car layer, hit Control V, that pastes the mask directly on there. Now we're good to go. Cool, so with these two things set up, now what you can do is basically copy the masks between each other. Oh, I didn't rename this one, so car mask. All right, so what you want to do is you want to actually copy both masks to each layer. So I'm going to select my scooter mask, hit Control C, come up here to the car, hit Control V. So now both masks are on the car. And just like that, or just like the other layer, I'll go ahead and paste the other mask onto the scooter as well. Cool, so then in your masks, you actually want to pick how they are behaving. The mask that is actually representative of the layers, the one that you want to set to add. So the scooter mask on the scooter guy, I'm going to set to add. And then the other mask, I'm just setting to none. So it's not doing anything. It's just there as information. And then on the car, I want to make sure that the car mask is set to add, and then the scooter mask is set to none. Also, it goes ahead and adds in some keyframe stuff. By default, you can turn that all off for now. There we go. Okay, so now our scooter is set up so that I can add the effect and start to get it to morph back and forth. If I come over here to effects and presets and type in reshape, I'm going to get the effect that I want. I'll just click and drag it on here. Now I have a couple of fields that I need to set up correctly. So the source mask for the scooter layer is the scooter mask. So that's where it starts. That's the beginning shape of the reshape effect. Then the destination shape, the final shape, is actually going to be the car mask. So now this thing, the percent, will shift those things back and forth. So if I blend it up, see how it starts to morph it into the other shape. And then by the end, it's basically filling the car mask with whatever the scooter guy's pixel information is. And then the other really cool part about this is you can give it some targets of like what part of your original image to stretch to what part of your final image. So what that means is here where it says correspondence points, what you want to do is hold Alt and it will look like it's the pen tool. And when you click, see how it gives this little joining thing? Now you can just click and drag on your original guy and say, this part of the original over the kind of transformation, make sure that this point goes to here. So you can add several of these just by continuing to hold Alt and click to add in a new point. So here, this wheel, I actually want this wheel to kind of blend over into the car wheel. And just like also in the back, oops, I want that to happen in the back too. So this scooter wheel, I'll grab this thing, drag it over to the wheel on the car. And then this part of the scooter, I want it to morph forward into the car. And maybe kind of this top part of the backpack, I'll have it kind of pull backwards. So now when it starts to pull apart, you can see that it really tries to follow that and pull that part of the bitmap to where it needs to go. Cool, so I'll pause there. There's been a lot of info real quick. Did you want me to cover any of the steps again, or do you have any steps or questions on the steps so far? Going once? Okay, click twice. So then I'm just gonna repeat that for the car. So add my reshape effect, set the source for the car as the car mask, set the destination for the car as the scooter, and then come in and add a few targets. So I want the front of the car to, oops, make sure that your mouse shifts over into that little icon. It has like a little circle next to it. That way you're actually dragging stuff. And then make sure that the tire shifting over that. And then you'll have the top of the car be connected. And back of the car connected there. Okay, cool. So now what I want to do is go ahead and I'll flip both of them on and start my animation for the percent. So this is going to start my blending keyframes. So if I click that, and then I come over here into my composition, if I hit U, it will activate any currently active keyframes. So I want to make sure that both of my layers were selected. Make sure that percent is active. There we go. Now I've got our start keyframe, and then I'll come forward maybe 1 second, shift it to 100% for both. So now both things are doing the kind of animation that we want to do. But basically how I want the animation to end up looking is for this guy to transition into a car. So this animation is actually going correct. The way that the other layer is set up is actually a little bit backwards. So I'll shift my keyframe over. And then reverse how these keyframes are. So it starts in this weird there we go. So the car actually starts yeah, okay, cool. So what in the end you end up having is your transition needs to alpha out one of the images and alpha in the other one. So you can do a little crossfade. So your scooter guy is your initial one. Oh, that's the car. I think I've gotten myself backwards here. Sorry, guys. Let me go back a little bit. Dee, dee, dee. I'll just isolate and work. So the first thing I want to get set up is this guy transitioning into a car correctly. So I've turned on my keyframe here at the beginning. So it starts as the scooter and it ends up like a car. And what I want to do is actually alpha this guy out halfway through. So I'll turn on 100% opacity, and then by 1 second, you won't be able to see that guy anymore. So with the car, what you actually want to do, turn this off for now. So the car, you actually want it to start as a scooter, like this, and then end up as the car. So it's doing it in reverse. And then with the car, you start it completely transparent. Oh, I didn't have my stopwatch active, I don't think. Sorry about that. There you go. Okay, sorry, that went off the rails there a little bit. I got a little mixed up with my layers. But, so the end result is, start with your initial image. You add in your masks by doing the trace, auto tracing over here under layers. And then once you have both of the masks that you've traced, you can add the effect called reshape. And then you're able to add in your keyframe information on the percent to blend it back and forth. So the part where I got a little mixed up just because trying to talk and work at the same time was basically blending which one you see. And so the way I was doing that is by animating the opacity of stuff. So at the beginning of the animation, you can see the scooter. And then at the halfway point, I basically have the scooter start to fade out like that. So by this frame, you can't see this layer anymore. And the opposite of that's happening on the car. So with the car layer, it actually starts where you can't see the car anymore. And then at halfway through, I start to dial up the car opacity to 100%. So that's the trick. Cool. Again, I apologize for being a little unclear with that, but I'll ask at this point, is it reasonably clear what's going on? And do you have questions about any of the steps?
It seems a lot easier than the previous examples that you showed us in last class.
Uh-huh.
It just seems, I don't know. It transitions really nicely too.
Yeah, I would say so. Since like basically this is a different technique. This is a new technique. I didn't know that After Effects could do this. And when I found it, I was like, wow, this does, so all the internal stuff, like, all this little bitmap information, you're not having to worry about all of those paths animating correctly. It's really just the silhouette, which is cool. However, I'm wondering if that is going to make this assignment less valuable because it's like way, way, way less complicated.
That's
So,
what I was gonna say, but I think that this is like a nice thing to add to the project so you can find your in-betweens if you're having issues
okay.
like finding what
Uh-huh.
that shape in between looks like. So like for me seeing this, I don't really want to do it this way since it's just like stretching my pixels out and making it look like a
Uh-huh.
blurry mess into something more clear. But I think it could be valuable trying to find a in between.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, still with this approach, what you could do is you could just have bitmaps for even the internals. So you have kind of this little orange part of the scooter. You would have some kind of part of the car that you're having that blend into. Maybe it's turning into this back panel or something like that. So it's not necessarily a single ping image that you're blending back and forth. It would be layers of ping images that you're all morphing on top of each other. So I think what I would like to do, I think Gil's on the right idea, is if you do use this approach for doing your morphs versus doing the Illustrator morphs, it still needs to be a layered image. You can't just do one picture and blend it into another. That will, in theory, only take as long as it took me to explain this video, which is half an hour. It's not really going through the exercise of trying to find good parts of one illustration and blend it into another. It's just doing this overall shape, which will be one of them, but you need to make sure that you're identifying corollaries between your two different images and make sure that they're also doing cool morphs between each other. Does that make sense as far as like the additional requirement if you use the bitmap reshaped versus the path animation? Yeah. Okay, cool.
So you're just saying that you want like the in between to not be like, you're just saying you want it to be more defined.
Kind of, it's more like, so instead of this illustration being just the car, it would actually have been like, the window would have been a separate layer and you would need to morph the window into some part of the other guy. So the car isn't just a single layer. The car is made of multiple layers and you'll need to blend all those multiple layers into something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
All right. So with that demo out of the way, I'm hoping to check in and see progress that and I guess just brainstorm some ideas that people have for their project. And as always, I will let the Zoom gods decide who goes by just the order on my screen, except for I remember that Gabrielle was last, so she can go first, unless she doesn't want to. Kind of player's choice. So Gabrielle, would you like to go first, or do you want to wait? Perhaps she has stepped away. In that case, I'll go ahead and start from the top. Jose, are you able to discuss and share some stuff that you've been thinking about?
Can you circle back to me? Because I'm trying to like just finish and like organize everything together so I can take pictures of it to put in the
Oh,
drive.
okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you so
and
much.
no problem. Next up would be Zeno. Would you be able to share some stuff?
Yeah. I think I have some sketches in my drive. Well,
Okay.
a sketch of an idea.
Well, I can't. Oh, I am. Sorry, the giant person window was in the way. There we go. Google Drive, my drive, class and Zeno. Okay, so we are now to our 7th and 8th week, I guess. I guess we're in the 8th week at this point. It's a halfway point. Cool. Oh, I gotta turn into a cat mountain.
Yep, that's the plan. Have a curling cat stand up, look to the right, and then shift into a natural environment, and then shift back.
Cool. I like that. I like even the additional little bit of kind of movement before the morph. I think that'll add a lot. That's cool.
Yep. We'll see if I can do it.
Uh-huh. Are you going to do that first part with frame by frame or a puppet? What are you thinking?
I plan on just making each of these in Illustrator with different parts, and then see if I can morph using that method.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah, because these are I think just the main poses that I want to make first, and then see what I do from there.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's see, any... So in the end, when you have the mountain, is there also going to be little ambient movement there where you have like, there's like movement on the water or anything like that? Or is it just going to be like the water will look like it's flowing? Because right now it looks like it's like a bubbling brook or something like that.
Yeah, I'd like to have the water moving and the cloud next to the mountain moving and the sun rays shining.
Okay.
That'd be nice.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you wanted to do that during the transition parts, obviously those would be, either the reshape trick that we just did or the path animation thing. Once it hits its final pose, you could make like, so if the river thing was its own layer, right? Once it hits where it's going to finally be, it could be switched over into a composition where the first frame on that composition is that, and then it's an animation that can loop. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you basically have a couple of transition frames, and then once it hits that point, then it's actually its own little movie that can play. And then once it needs to go back, then that movie would stop and then it would transition back just using the normal layers again. Cool. Yeah, I look forward to seeing that. Thank you. All right. Next up is Mitchell. Are you able to share some stuff?
Yeah, I don't have pretty sketches like that, but I have an idea in a really bad Illustrator file if you want to pull it up. I'm not the biggest fan of Illustrator so far, but hopefully it'll start to worked in my favor.
Okay. Okay. If so, based on today's trick, if Illustrator really continues to give you a bunch of headaches, you could switch over to using Photoshop and splitting things onto layers in that if it's just too hard to author in Illustrator.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to learn the program, but
Okay, cool.
I mean, we'll see what happens. But yeah, my idea right now is to morph the Metroid.
Uh-huh.
I'm tired.
Famous. Yeah.
Yeah, if I want to take the Zero Suit Samus head and morph it into the Samus suit helmet head, yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that's my idea for right now, but we'll see what Illustrator can do for me. I'm just trying to mess around with shapes and trying to get something. So
Cool. Yeah, no, it looks like you're off to a good start here. Yeah, you've got things split up into individual layers.
yeah, it's really just like trying to make those shapes with like, because the way that you said to do it is like to cut out pieces, and that is just like it's a weird process to me. I get
Uh-huh.
why I have to do it, but it's weird.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, it is definitely one approach. I find it to be, in the end, you get a cleaner, like final piece.
mm,
But I've seen people do very good stuff with, going in and authoring by hand with the pen if they
yeah.
wanted to do that too. So yeah, it really is, just time in the program, spending some time just getting comfortable, smoothing things out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'll find a good workflow eventually for it, but
Okay.
yeah, that's where
Cool.
I'm at.
Yeah. I guess the other trick, I wonder how that would look. So in Illustrator, so you can do solid color fills. The other thing that you can do is also gradient fills. And so over here, these two buttons, so this one is gradient. If you click that, so see how I've selected the visor,
Mhm.
you can see what it's currently set to is these two things. If you wanted to actually use a gradient to make it look like it's kind of that lens, you could pick that, and then you can edit your gradient. So you can come in and add in extra points of control. Make sure that, so if you select this, sort of like green, and then this one is green, but then you also make it darker. Like, so you could, like that. Select the initial color, make sure that it's set to RGB. Or sample. So you can click that. So see now how you have the gradient running over top of your path, or your path fill.
Mhm.
So that's another powerful thing. If you didn't want to have everything be solid colored, you can fill it with gradients too.
Okay, cool.
Nice. And so the end target that you're going for, is it like a human head?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Nice. Yeah, let me know if there's like, if as you're working on it, you wanted to just like brainstorm some stuff or talk about how you would actually get a shape or something like that.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up is Madeline, and I'll give people heads up for the next person after that will be Adam.
Can I perhaps go after the next person? I'm about to export something into my Google Drive.
Oh, okay, sure. Adam, would you be able
Sorry.
to, no worries. Would you be able to share some stuff right now?
Yeah, can I share my screen?
Uh-huh, go for it. Oh, wait, I gotta stop.
Cool. So I mean, I just have like kind of some basic stuff like laid out right now, but just like simple shape things, like just trying to like work out like kind of like what I'm trying to do. So like the top one, pretty straightforward. It's just like a mountain. I
Mhm.
don't know if I'm sold on the colors or necessarily the shape, but just like kind of the idea right now.
Mhm.
It's a hiker, and then the bottom one's more just like kind of like organic floral shapes into this like woman with one of those big floppy hats on.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay, cool. So would it be like a full body transitions into just a head, or is it a full body into a full body? What are you thinking?
Are you talking about for the bottom one?
Yeah, I guess is my question would be then: are you planning on making the hiker transition into this
Oh,
flower person, or are
oh,
you just trying to work out the initial character?
oh no. So like those were just like two like separate like ideas or whatever. Like
Oh,
I
okay,
didn't know like
okay,
what I wanted to do. Like I guess like it was more just like I was wanting to just come to class today and just kind of with two different ideas and I don't know. See what
gotcha,
I
gotcha.
thought.
Okay.
Like I know they're like fairly simple right now, and like with your thing today, like I thought it'd be really cool to like have like each like floral shape kind of be its own thing,
Uh-huh.
and then just like forming into like different parts of like the hat or the sunglasses or something. And I feel like that would
Uh-huh.
be, um, yeah, kind of like doable and like I don't know. I'm kind of leaning more towards the bottom one, but
Okay.
uh,
Yeah, I could see that working really nicely.
are you vibing with either, or do you think I should push them or?
I like the range of colors in the bottom one.
Yeah,
The top one it's also appealing, but it's very kind of homogeneous. I think it'll be fun to see those different areas kind of morph into different spots.
for sure. Um, cool. So this is due Tuesday or Thursday next week?
October 8th.
Sorry, you definitely like made that change. I can look.
Yeah,
It's cool.
it will be. I can't remember whether it's Thursday. Yeah, so Thursday, October 8th is when it's due.
Sweet.
Yeah. So we'll have one more kind of progress feedback brainstorm session.
Mm,
Um, I don't, I mean, I'll keep looking to see if there are more morphing tricks in After Effects,
mhm.
but I don't want to give you another thing that would basically change how you'd been doing your project if you work on it over the weekend. So I may not do any more tech demos on Tuesday. It might be more of just a feedback session. Feedback
Yeah,
session.
that's cool. I mean, the reason I did like kind of like the more simpler effect was just because like I was thinking of the process with like Illustrator, like the one you showed last week.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I thought that would be like the simpler kind of shape you did, and just like made it more of like a color kind of thing. Like I
Hmm.
thought that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I
with
think so.
floral to the girl. So I don't know. I might try out both.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
see what.
I mean, it'll definitely be a much different aesthetic on the edges because you do so much with your textured brushes
Mhm.
that those work really well for bitmap.
For
But
sure.
with
For sure.
vector, it's much more challenging. So if you wanted to keep that kind of crunchy aesthetic, then the reshape method might be better.
Okay.
But if you did want to push like doing kind of that clean vector uh, advertising, graphic designy type style,
Mhm.
then working in Illustrator is always a great practice.
Cool. Right on.
Yep,
Thanks.
no problem. All right, thank you. And Madeline, you're up next. And Jose, would you be able to go after Madeline? Or are you still getting things organized?
I'm still getting things worked out. I kind of like, I don't know why, but I kind of had an idea during class, and now I kind of want to finish it
Okay,
because I'm like I was like, I don't kind of like my characters anymore, so I want to do something different.
okay. In the midst of creation. Sounds good.
Yeah,
All right.
sorry.
No worries. Madeline, go for it.
Yeah, mine is in there now if you want to take a look at it.
Sure. Class resources. All right, so got the untitled artwork, is that right?
Sorry, I was on
No, you're
mute.
fine. Yeah.
It may have been done before, but I thought it would be like kind of cute to do a frog into, or a prince into a frog.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to practice doing the background, which in this case it's like this like floating witch person.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to like, just for my own sake, sort of practice the animation of like her kind of hovering there and her arm like kind of bonking him on
Uh-huh.
the
Uh-huh.
head before he
Uh-huh.
shrinks down.
That's cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, the layout, I'm wondering if, so you could do kind of a combo. I like the idea of the loop where maybe the wizard or the witch or whatever, like when this hand is up, it's the prince, and when this hand is up, it's the frog. So that
Mhm.
it's like the wizard is just behind, or the witch is behind, just kind of going like this, and
Oh.
as they're going like that, they're just like morphing back and forth between the prince and the frog. That
Mhm.
it would be like a really, I guess, a very loopy loop. But that's just kind of what I saw when I looked at it.
Yeah, the way that I have it laid out now is probably not entirely accurate to what I was thinking, just
Okay.
because the frog would probably be in the same position
Okay.
as
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
prince, but
So
I
that
didn't want
it'd be like
to,
going up and down.
yeah, just
Uh-huh.
like straight up and down instead of skewed to the side like that, just because
Okay.
I didn't want to draw them over top of each other. But I do think I understand what you were saying about the hands.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And I mean, if you wanted to go even super abstract with it, where you just kind of have maybe the background is a solid color. Like they do it a lot with Kingpin in Enter the Spider-Verse, where his head is just kind of floating in this massive void of a body. So the
Yeah,
witch, like the witch body is just this black background, and then maybe you could just see a couple features like angry eyebrows and some like squiggly hair, and then the two
yeah,
little hands kind of going like that. If you didn't want to do the full body like animation behind, because that's not the focus. Maybe if the
yeah.
focus is the characters.
I don't think I would have her whole body be moving. Like for the most part, I think I just have her body be this like shape,
Uh-huh.
and maybe only her like arms and whatever are moving. But
Cool. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I can see the hair using the wave warp a bunch, and you could just
yeah.
have it like constantly like going crazy or something. That'd be
Hmm.
nice. Yeah, this will be really fun. And on the prints, going back and forth, are you gonna have the toad, basically the one element that's common between them is the crown?
Yeah,
And
yeah, I think so.
okay, cool. So not having any kind of funny little frog clothes on the frog. The frog will be naked and
That
the
could
boy.
be kind of cute to give him little frog clothes.
just wondering. Brainstorm. Cool.
I'll think
Yeah,
about it.
I like it. So yeah, at this point, it looks like you're kind of in a good stage to start to isolate what you would probably put on individual layers.
Hmm.
So like, head or the chest or the collars or frog legs or whatever, so that you can start to think about uh, morphing between like one layer to one layer, right?
Hmm.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Next up is Gil. Are you able to share some ideas and thoughts?
Yeah, I have some sketches in my folder if you want to check them out.
Cool.
You can go into sketches,
Uh-huh.
and then I guess pick your favorite.
Either or. Okay.
Yeah, I guess I outlined this one and the other one, but I was thinking about doing something with Halloween.
Oh, nice.
It's over.
Mm-hmm.
And I was drawing just like, look, I want to Google and just looked up Halloween iconography.
Uh-huh.
And I think I want to do like a little like poisonous looking candy corn transforming into a little cat, and then like
Uh-huh.
behind the cat, like the orange from the candy corn will pop up and like say boo.
Uh-huh. That's cool.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to keep this a little bit more within my grasp because we've got a huge project coming up in the graduate classes. So I'm like,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good to scope things for the amount of time that you have. So that's wise decision.
is that enough for you? Like I
I think that the complexity of the character is fine. The thing that I might want to see, it would
Yeah.
be maybe a little bit of an ambient, like the first person that was, when we talked about, I think Zeno was talking a little bit about like it was doing a little something and then it morphed. So it might be
Okay.
cool if like, it doesn't have to be super complex, but once it morphs into the cat, maybe the cat has like some eye wiggle or some nose, some whisker stuff going on. And then when it
Okay.
goes back to the candy corn, I don't know what a candy corn does, but if you
Yeah.
candy corn could do a little something, it would just help
Yeah.
the increase interest, I guess.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's based off of my cat who's got herpes, so like his eyes always half closed.
Oh,
So
that's like, yes,
so he can like do a little sneeze. I think that
uh-huh.
would be great. Like
Oh, that would be
and
awesome.
and it goes back into the candy corn. I still want to mess around with the candy corn because it reminds me a little bit too much of like Cuphead for some reason. But then I looked up Cuphead and they look nothing alike. So I don't know I
Just
don't
had
know
it
what I
in your
need to
head.
change.
Uh-huh.
But I'll figure it out.
Cool. That sounds great. Yeah, I like the direction it's headed. Uh, I will mention this. You may want to contact for anybody that's doing a Halloween themed type something, either with this project or the next project. Usually each year there's this thing, the Pumpkin King Scholarship. I don't know if it's happening again. It happened each year I was in school and several years when I was after school. You basically just submit either, I think it's either a still or an animation, and if you win, you get some dough, which is nice, and you can spend it on whatever you want. I don't think it's connected to um, so like if you're doing work study, if you're like a TA, you get a certain amount of money that goes towards paying for school. And sometimes when you get paid through scholarships, that money will conflict and you'll end up having to give it back. I don't believe that's this. This is just like cash money from this guy, which is good.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
so yeah, look
Yeah, I
up
can never
Pumpkin
do
King.
scholarships.
Either ask Mark or the dean. I'm blanking on the dean's name right now. Not the dean, the head of the department, Derek. Either ask Derek or Mark about if this is running this year. They could probably contact the guy and let you know.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good.
All righty. Next up is, let's see if Gabrielle has returned. Gabrielle, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, great.
Is it okay if you come back to me after the next person though? Because I have to open you guys on my computer because you guys are on my phone right now.
I see. Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll pop forward to Julian. Are you able to share some stuff?
I don't have any drawings yet, but I do have two ideas.
Okay.
The first is like a Grecian statue, like turning into it, like the person, like they become living kind of. So like the stone like crackles off and they become a person. And then
Mm-hmm.
the other idea is just like a little kid, and then he dies and turns into a ghost. Um,
Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm gonna make some drawings and then I'll upload this to the drive right now. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I think that both of those sound like they could work. The second idea, I guess, maybe you could just have it blend in between. There might be a little bit of acting animation with the second idea to get it across where the character would actually have to die.
Uh-huh.
So that would be an additional level of complexity to just keep in mind if you go forward with that approach. Try and stick with as straightforward or easy to manage character design as possible. Don't make it super intricate.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. And let's see, I'll hold off on that. Autumn, would you be able to share some ideas or progress?
Yeah, so can you hear me okay?
Uh-huh.
All right, so I don't have drawings yet,
Okay.
but I'll send them in soon.
Okay.
I think I'm going to do it like have a person change into a jack-o'-lantern.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because I
Mhm.
don't know, I think it could be cute. I
Uh-huh.
also had a question. So I know like last class you mentioned with Val's idea, the person like when she morphs into a plant, like having her hair turn into leaves or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering how much uh leeway we have with that, I guess, for the morphing process. So like, do you want more so just like the shapes to change, or would you be open to like some, I don't know, something like the hair turning into like plants or whatever, like the leaves, like you were saying?
Mm-hmm. I guess maybe I can just talk about what I would expect from this project for like the end result. So the thing that we're practicing with this is basically, now that we have this other workflow, is one of two ways of accomplishing a morph. So the main thing we're concentrating on is either using Illustrator or and then in Illustrator breaking up your drawing into different layers. So if you do have like a female character that you wanted to blend into a plant, um, I would imagine several chunks of that character's hair would need to be their own layers that could then morph into a leaf. So they would need to be separate. So then on your plant side of the illustration, you would need to have a couple layers that would be leaves, and so then you would try and get those things to transition back and forth into each other in kind of a seamless or appealing manner. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, okay, here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Are we allowed to, before we like completely morph the shapes, are we allowed to have certain aspects of the original first subject kind of change into like things of the second subject before it like completely morphs shape-wise?
I mean, I think I understand what you're saying. Yeah, that seems fine. So if you were continuing on with this example, if you had a human transitioning into a plant, the eyes maybe turn into the inside of the flower that's like the little stems or whatever.
Hmm.
So the eyes could elongate and get thinner as they turn into the stalks. Is that kind of what you're
Yeah, yeah,
describing?
that's, I think I understand now. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, and as you're messing around with the different ideas, uh, that's the exact right process or thought process to go through. Is with your illustration, if you identify an element that you want to transition into another element, just think about the in-betweens to get there. So if it's such an extreme shape change that you can't just go right from eyeballs to whatever,
Mhm.
then having that middle target, so it goes from eyeballs to square, and then from square into stock or something like that. So there's that like halfway point. Does that make
Right,
sense?
okay. Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, cool. No problem.
All right, cool.
All right, Gabrielle, are you ready to rock, or do you need a few more minutes?
I need a few more minutes. I'm sorry. Literally,
No,
my
you're fine.
computer's trying to slowly shut itself down. I have to
Ah,
stop.
bummer. Okay,
Yeah. No.
cool. Moving to the next after Autumn, then will be Vanessa. Are you able to share some stuff?
Yeah, I have some drawings up in Google Drive.
Great. Let me
Um,
put it up.
so the two drawings I have up are just kind of like, I guess, my rough idea of what I kind of want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which was the woman kind of transforming into waves.
Yes. Okay. Ooh.
Now those two like wave drawings I
Uh-huh.
found online are kind of like for reference of kind of what the I'd want the waves to be, like
Yeah.
not too complicated but still kind of
Uh-huh.
stylized, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough kind of line work and intricacy there that it can turn into something else. Like if it was just, you know, one wave line at the top, that'd be kind of hard to morph into anything interesting.
Yeah, the one before this, if you go one more, was like my first attempt at it.
Uh-huh.
And then I went and did another drawing because I knew I needed to simplify it some way.
Uh-huh.
So so I ended up with the next one.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And I think I might still use like maybe an element from my first try, because I'd imagine that like maybe in the halfway between the woman and the waves,
Mm-hmm.
that her hair grows longer because it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
becoming a wave.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. Yeah.
That's what I have so far.
Cool. Yeah. And certainly with this, yeah, that's a good idea. So each of the, maybe like what you're describing, the plan to be is identifying parts of her that could then transition into kind of these swirly elements.
Yeah,
So,
and with the two like wave images I found online, I don't think I'll use quite the same, like it'll still be like a blue color palette, but like not this kind of, I guess, uh specific like choices for blue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems fine. Could even go green or red, the Red Sea. Yeah, I think that'll end up being really cool, having the hair get longer. Arms could certainly get noodly and turn into swirls. The head can collapse on itself and swirl forward, or the nose can pour off the front of the face or something like that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of cool opportunities for creating this flow.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Thank you.
So, and I haven't really decided which program I want to start the actual like file in. But I'll see which one works better. Sometimes Illustrator is a bit frustrating, but it might be better for this project.
So to that end, I guess one thing I can show is maybe a workflow of kind of a hybrid workflow. Like say you are interested in the idea of using the path animation, but creating things in Illustrator can be a little frustrating. So if you were in that boat, as long as you have a reasonably sharp bitmap image, you can use Illustrator to kind of trace and create a vector version of it. So if you had a, for example, say you, oops, so say you had some thing that has a bunch of stuff, maybe so say this is your totally sweet and awesome illustration. What you can do, you can either give it a solid background, and if you highlight the whole canvas and hit Control-Shift-C, that'll basically take a picture of any pixel that's currently showed. So you don't have to necessarily be selected on any individual layer. It just basically takes a picture of your drawing at that point. So now that's saved into your clipboard. You could flip over into Illustrator and paste. And so that pastes a bitmap image. And then once it's here, you can actually come into this thing called image trace. And if it's not over here on your dock, you can activate it by going Window and then Image Trace, and you'll get a couple options. So this is a black and white image, so I'm happy to just use black and white. But if you did do a color version, you can switch over to color. And once you hit Trace, it calculates, and then this is now a vector drawing. So as long as you have enough pixel information, it actually does a pretty good job of tracing it. Once it's been traced, you can actually hit expand and then double click and delete anything you don't want. So then you're just left with your path. I use this all the time for doing, like if I the other website that I like I do a bunch of dumb graphic design figure stuff. So if I'm like, website, there's a bunch of icons for what a website would be. Say I don't want to make this in Illustrator because it's kind of complicated. You kind of click it. If I just want to use this as my base because I'm going to add color to it, I can take a snapshot, come into Illustrator, paste, hit image trace, and now you have a vector version of that thing that you can remove whatever elements you don't want. So you can quickly and easily generate a bunch of vector stuff from bitmaps as long as it's high enough resolution.
Okay.
You can also, I was messing around with Adobe Fresco, and I don't really understand how it works. If you've got the subscription, then I think it comes free with like the lowest one.
Oh.
But I know for sure on like the iPad, and I think on some tablets it's free. So they've got like the normal Photoshop roster brushes, and then they have the live brushes, which are pretty cool, and then they have the vector brushes. It's a little wonky compared to like a normal brush, but at least it's a little less wonky than drawing in Illustrator.
Okay.
So then if you export it as a PDF, import it into Illustrator, it's a vector line. It's not as like nicely done as when you use the pen tool and make it like nice and perfect, and there's just only a few little like anchor points. It's going to have a ton of anchor points, but it's manageable-ish.
That's cool. Oh, wow. Somebody did this with vector. That's pretty neat.
No, so that's done with the live brushes.
Oh, okay.
So there's like 3 different types of brushes on there, like the normal like Kyle T. Webster brushes, and then some live brushes, which are pretty cool, and then the vector brushes.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I have to mess around with this a little bit. Ah, so many programs, so little time. All right. Thank you, Go. Let's see. So that's Vanessa. Next up, Courtney. Are you able to share some stuff?
Hey, sorry. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
Sure. I'll stop in case you're trying to.
Can I share my screen? So this is what I have so far. I actually, in undergrad, we did a morph, but with drawing in Photoshop, and I did the same thing, but I want to make it better.
Okay. Okay.
So.
Cool. So it's a D20, a dodecahedron. I forget what it's called. Into a skull.
Yeah, because it rolls on the bad numbers, so you lose.
Oh, nice. Well played. Okay. And then are you adding in little, I guess, frame by frame elements on top of it on the outside?
Yeah, that's
cool.
kind of what I want to do.
A little embellishment. That's cool. Nice. So it looks like you've already got it. You've got a ton of layers separated.
Yeah.
So at this point, are you still working through that, or are you
I probably have to go in and separate a couple more, especially for the dice. But I kind of like illustrators, so.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it is very like once you start to get the hang of it, I feel like it's very controlled. You can like be very deliberate. Sometimes I just want to sketch, and I don't feel like Illustrator is great for sketching.
Oh no, it's terrible for sketching.
Yeah. Cool. It looks like a lot of detail, of getting control. It looks like you have a lot of layers of shading on the D20 dice, which I assume are all individual paths. So keeping control of that may be somewhat tedious, but
I think like the glares, I might just kind of have them fade out a little bit because they don't really convert 100%. So
okay, cool, nice. Thank you. Look forward to seeing progress on that. It looks like a nice little get in there and be tedious. Cool. Next up is Z, and looks like maybe Gabrielle. All right, Gabrielle, are you still working on stuff, or do you need more time?
I should be fine.
Okay, so you'll be up after Z.
Awesome.
Great.
So I have a drawing in my drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you got it numbered.
Well, and also I have a trouble to find the transition between those two character. So I think they're probably gonna use reshape effect.
Okay, so you might do the bitmap approach versus the vector approach.
Yeah, and then I have a match like a layer or part, and those two characters supposed to have like a 10 part, so there will be a transaction. I have a number label on the body, so they have each part to use the reshape effect and then to transfer to another shape.
Yeah, I think that should work really well. Yeah, no, we'll see how it goes. So it may be the case that as things are going back and forth, like for example, the nose. So the nose on the person to the cat, depending on how tall they are in relation to each other, as the other elements like the head and the body, as they morph, maybe the nose will move off of like the head. So you may need to go in and add like additional like placement keyframe animation to keep it in place. That's the only thing I see that may be slightly frustrating, but other than that, it's like, looks like you're ready to just cruise and kind of link things together. Nice.
Yeah, and also I have a question. Like if we only make it like a for example, like a one character transfer to another, and then we make the video flip it off, and then
say this again.
So I only make it one effect, like a transformation from one character to another, and then I use some like a I don't know. I don't know if After Effects can have that.
The time reverse, yeah. So
yeah,
I think I understand what you mean. So if I want it, so I have this thing, this class demo. So really, how I should have my project set up is that I have my main comp, which is actually the thing where I have all my animation. So I'm able to drop in my little demo. I'd want to make this twice as long so I can go back in time. So if I make it 6 seconds instead of 3 seconds, I could duplicate this, put it on the end, and then you can use a time effect called, I'd need to do a Google search for it. It's basically like you can just reverse, you can play it in reverse.
Yeah.
Tuning, weight, filter, motion blur. I don't think that's the right effects. Let me do a quick Google search. So After Effects, play in reverse, effect. Time reverse, so go to time reverse layer. Let's see, so time, there we go. Time reverse layer, there we go. So there you go. So this one plays, the normal play is to go from scooter to car. And then this is the exact same layer that I just put the reverse on. And so it goes from car back to scooter. So you really only have to animate it one way, and then you can duplicate it, put that reverse on it, you're good to
go. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. Any other questions? Z?
Me? Oh, no. I'm good.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, so next up, Gabrielle, you ready to go? I think you might still be muted.
Sorry, I was saying it was the other one though. And
Okay.
yeah.
Did you need to? Okay, cool. You're sharing screen.
Awesome, got it. Alrighty, so you guys need 1 second. I have to transfer it over from this screen. It's 2 different screens. I thought it did it automatically, but it doesn't. So just give me a hot second.
Okie dokie.
So basically, for mine, I'm still doing the environment into another figure idea, but I drew like a little ship inside, and I was debating whether or not I should just do the ship, do an environment that transforms into the ship, or just keep it as the figure that I have. Let's see.
We may be looking at the wrong screen. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah, you guys. Sorry, the joys of technology. Okay. Can you see that okay? Okay, yeah, awesome. So right now, this all it really is just a rough sketch that I'm going to end up refining over this weekend of the sci-fi scene that I have, and then the figure that I have right over here. And then I was debating, the reason why I brought up the ship was because here it is right here, and I was thinking that maybe it was a better idea to just have it kind of come out of this area, and then while it's coming here, it kind of just morphs into just the ship flying by.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
the composition that you have with even just the little thumbnail of the kind of the angle of the head and the slope of the shoulders, I find to be very intriguing. So I like the use of that kind of silhouette transitioning into the layout that you have for your sci-fi scene, where you have like kind of the sun and different things like that. Like,
yeah,
I can see a lot of good opportunities for elements from one thing to blend into elements on the other.
Yeah.
But the ship, I mean, I guess, yeah. No, I think I think I prefer the background with the figure. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking so too. The ship was kind of like a quick idea that I had it was like 2 minutes ago, and I immediately thought, I was like, oh, that would be interesting. Let's see if that would be, how effective that would be in actually trying to implement it. So yeah, but no, I like the figure a lot more too, to be honest with you. The figure's more fun for me. Yeah, but yeah, that's it so far. Oh, and I think I might do the bitmap idea if I'm not able to keep it as the vector, because I've recently found that Photoshop is a bit easier to deal with than Illustrator at times. And I don't know with this project how easy it would be for me to convert that area. Although I did do a lot of simple organic shapes, so it should be pretty easy to flip from one to the other. But just to be sure, I thought that probably would be a better idea if I did it in Photoshop. Not in Photoshop, but in bitmap, possibly.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, and that's fine. I think at this stage of stuff, if you did want to get a little bit more detailed with your stages, with your targets, then once you have a reasonable amount of detail, like sometimes I'll just make a list because I already have in my head the things that I want to do. But if you're just exploring and you wanted to doodle, once you get to a certain point, starting to pick elements in your different targets as what you want to put on layers that could then morph back and forth between each other, I think would be very useful. So like how I think it was Vicky, or no, it was Z. I think Z had already had it like numbered. She's like, these 10 things are going to turn into these 10 things. Like that, doing that level of planning, I think could speed up animation in the end.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that then.
Cool. All right, thank you. I think that'll be fun. Let's see. So next up is Anasia. Are you able to share some stuff?
Yeah. I have a picture in the drive.
Okay. Alrighty. Boink. There we go.
Okay, so I drew it backwards. It's supposed to like start off. This is very like not what it's going to look like. Okay. The so the picture where she's on the side, like her face, she's facing the side. That's how it's gonna start off, and then it's gonna be like kind of not like a jump scare, but like a jump scare, where it like kind of pops into your face, like she turns and then pops in your face with the like ugly face.
Okay, so you're planning on, so there's the silhouette of the head. I guess there's some amount of frame by frame to get that character to face the camera, and then there's a quick morph into the scary face.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then so that you, yeah, you could do this, the trick that I just mentioned to Z, with basically you duplicate the composition reverse time, so that way it'll go back from the scary face to the normal, and then she'll turn and face, so it can be a perfect loop.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think that'll be fun. Because you're planning on doing kind of a very quick transition, that for telling the story, I think that's fine, and especially because it's kind of Halloween-y. But you have a good amount of additional animation for turning the head. It'd be kind of fun if you added maybe a few elements to the scary face that could be interesting. Maybe the eyebrows shake or the tongue wiggles or something like that, just so that it's not just a static, it transitions and then transitions back.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I would like to do that, or try to anyway.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I could see wave warp being used a bunch. You could have the hair kind of wiggling or the tongue flapping or something like that. And the puppet pin tool, you could make the eyebrows kind of jiggle a little bit really easily just by animating those points up and down. And like how I think I mentioned it to somebody else, but basically when you turn the head and then you morph into the face, what you would want to do once the face is done morphing, then you have the face another layer, which is its own composition that you can put all that little fancy animation doodads on, so that you're not having to keep track of all that extra effects and everything as you're turning and morphing. So it's kind of its own little piece that's by itself that you can crop. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Yeah, so separating it into these chunks will help both with editing and iteration. Nice. Thank you for sharing progress. Let's see. And I think, Jose, are you up for some shares?
Yeah, I put something in my drive just a few minutes ago.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Jose and Wolf. Okay.
Yeah, so I think like my idea is kind of like to make it cutesy and then kind of like change it to like be sinister. I felt festive like in class, so
yeah.
I guess that's my whole idea with like the transition and the morphing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can see, I mean, this is set up very well for creating the back and forth. So like, the mouth morphs into a different style mouth, the eyes morph into different style eyes, the ears, all that good stuff. Little elements that are very prominent here, like the eyelash. You may want to add just a little something here, like a little tiny thing, so that there's at least something to latch onto. It might make your life easier. You could also have it appear out of nothing, but sometimes it's nice just to have that little, like the corollary on the other side, so that you know where you're going.
Can you share your screen, because I can't, like, I'm
Oh,
not seeing
dang
what
it.
you're
I
saying.
thought I would.
Yeah, I don't know exactly like
I'm just
what.
gonna randomly talk. Okay.
Yeah,
So the mouth certainly matches up with the mouth, the nose with the nose. But here, these like little eyelashes.
Yeah.
If
Oh,
you
okay.
added like little ticks maybe on the side of these
Okay.
things, so that you could separate those into layers and have them morph into each other, that might just make your life a little easier than having to go from nothing to something.
Okay. Right.
But yeah, I think that'll be fun. You may want to invest some time in creating a halfway character that's like halfway blended between them, where maybe the mouth isn't open yet, so it's just lips, and like the neck and different elements. Like this one seems to have more detail than this one, so having some transition planned out for the halfway, I think, will make your life a little easier too.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okie dokie, and stop sharing. There we go. Vicky, have you gone yet? Okay, go for it. You shifted around on my screen, so you're like way at the beginning.
Yeah. I have a file in my drive.
Okay.
So I did do some sketches, and then I started playing around in Illustrator. So I'm not. But I was thinking of doing well, that's like a reference picture of one of the like character, I guess, that I wanted to base it off of.
Okay.
But it's like one of those like flying costumes. I mean, and then I want to transform it into a like Santa.
Oh, okay. So it turns from.
Yeah.
Are those dragons? What are they?
No, they're more. There's more. I don't know. They're kind of like lions, but they're
lions.
They're some kind of beast.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to describe it.
Cool.
But I was thinking, because I was playing like having similarities between them, like the shapes and stuff. But also differences, because like the Santa has more roundish, like corners, while the beast has like more sharper. And also I was playing with like, because the beast has like the horn, while the Santa Claus has a hat kind of thing, like playing with that. But I was thinking maybe I should like change the Santa, like his head shape maybe a bit more, because I feel like it looks a little too similar, like size-wise, to the other one, so I didn't like that. So I think I'm gonna keep playing with that. But
yeah, that's I think that's a good idea. It's nice to see it in this phase, because it's clear that the similarities. I think that having identified the idea of roundness transitioning into pointiness is really good, and just continuing along with that theme. Maybe I know that the reference for this stuff, these heads are pretty round, but maybe you could accentuate the jaw even more, so it's like thin where the eyes are, and then the jaw is like this big round thing on the bottom. So it's actually two separate shapes, and then the Santa head is very much just of a sphere, so it almost looks like it's one shape, so it's like pulling apart or something like that. I guess another thing that you could mess around with would just be so a lot of people will use sheets like this to come up with like differences for head shapes, where they just simplify it to like a rectangle head or a triangle head, or a diamond head or something like that. So if you wanted to work off of a specific shape, so if this one's round, then this one turn into a diamond or a hexagon or something,
Okay.
like using that as like your very abstract shape representation of what each stage is.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that this is really great. It's also nice to see kind of the pieces that you're going to be going back and forth with. Maybe the Santa could have like little tiny charcoal eyes, because this one has big giant eyes.
Okay.
But yeah, the beard, you have the hat going here. Maybe if there were little round tufts of hair coming out the bottom, they could turn into these crazy tufts coming off the top, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think this will be fun. Very cool.
Thank you.
Nice. And I believe that is the final share, unless somebody hasn't gone that I don't know. I think that's correct. Cool. So once again, I'm hoping that you guys can use the remaining 30, 45 minutes of this class. I guess it's maybe closer to an hour, the remaining hour of this class, to just make progress on your characters, keep iterating on the different areas in each of your targets that can morph into each other. So start to break your illustrations into these layers that can morph back and forth. And if you have any questions about the reshape trick that I showed today, I should have this video up in the next hour or so. I don't know if I put up last week's video yet either. So both of those should appear in YouTube pretty soon, and I'll add them to the video link, and I'll send out an email certainly to let everybody know that they're up. So if you have questions on the demos that I've done for the past 2 classes, they should be up soon. But if you are not wanting to wait for those, the 2 things that you can search independently of the class videos would just be shape morph in After Effects, and then reshape effect in After Effects. So there'll be plenty of tutorials and videos on all this kind of stuff. So hopefully my videos are not the only source on the internet on how to do this kind of thing. Cool. Well, great job. Thank you for sharing. I think that all the ideas looked fun, and they're very varied. I'm always happy to see what everybody comes up with, because it's just neat to see the differences in ideas. So next Tuesday, what I'm hoping to see is certainly a lot of progress on at least the targets in either Illustrator or Photoshop, with lots of layers starting to break out. If you're already to the point where you have them all broken onto layers, go ahead and bring them into After Effects and start to try and link the transitions together. But really, if you make it to the phase where you have all the stuff separated into layers, you should be in pretty good shape to hit the Thursday deadline. Cool. Well, thank you again, and good luck with drawing. And if you guys have any questions, as always, just let me know through email, and we can do a quick Zoom call, or I can just answer with typing with my fingers. All right. Well, I'll see you guys soon, and have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Later.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.